guess we don't have to connect to Facebook, so we can go live.
We're Twitter Live or something?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending our meeting tonight. For those that are viewing us at home on whatever means we're now using, Facebook and Instagram have had a system-wide outage, and this will be the only way you can follow us tonight. We begin our meetings with a moment of silence, so please join me. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a pretty short report tonight. The other day, myself, Commissioner Walsh, and Commissioner Phillips met with several people, including staff, about age-friendly mech. So, we're aging as a population, and especially here in Mecklenburg County, and they have set up a number of objectives over the course of the next 3 to 4 years that they would like to meet in order to help us old people age more gracefully. Some of the recommendations that have come out are, we're talking about greenways tonight, and one of the suggestions is that you have park benches throughout your greenway. And I think we probably don't have too many, so that might be a really good suggestion. In addition, they're looking to have community involvement and surveys out there, studies, so we can see what our community, Huntersville, as well as the rest of Mecklenburg County, is looking for as we age. And one of the things, interestingly enough, that they mentioned was the difficulty in finding space to handle some of the services that they are looking to provide, whether it's meal deployment or just some of the other social services. And I think I said 2 weeks ago, one of the benefits of expanding and having a new town hall will be the fact that we'll have a 200-person community room, as well as the board room, as well as some other community rooms. So it was good timing for me to hear that. So that's all I have. Commissioner Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Parks and Recreation Commission moved up their meeting to tomorrow night. That meeting will be held at the Town Center building starting at 6:30. Next week on October 13th, the Public Art Committee will meet. That's October 13th. They meet at 6:30, and they will also, at least currently, meet at the Town Center building. This past week, Visit Lake Norman was awarded 2 Tourism Achievement Awards by the North Carolina Travel Industry Association. They received a gold award in the leisure category for the Escape to the Lake marketing campaign. They also received a gold award in the community stakeholders category for VLN's gift shop and online store record sales. That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Phillips.
All right, I have 3. Rural Hill, the Amazing Maze is still taking place until November 7th. To learn more, to obtain tickets, please visit ruralhill.net. If you need to register to vote or change your voter registration to vote on Election Day, you need to do so by Friday, October 5th, which is this Friday. You can also request an absentee by mail ballot if you cannot vote in person on Election Day or during early voting. To learn more about both, please visit mecnc.gov/BOE. And then for people in the community who need and qualify for the COVID booster shot, if you know somebody who needs it and they're homebound, reach out to me. I'm working with StarMed Health, and they said that they would meet people in their homes until things can get worked out with the county to make things easier. And my info is sphillips@huntersville.org. My phone number is 704-533-4685. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And also, there's something at the Waymer Center that Novant is putting on Thursday.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Munger.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Surprised there are this many people. Good to see you, though. On Wednesday, September 22nd, I met with Mecklenburg County government officials and various other town officials for a discussion on farmland preservation. This is especially important here in Huntersville, as we have more farms than any other town in Mecklenburg County. And I look forward to working with them to explore more options to preserve farmlands in our community. On Thursday of this week, the Huntersville Ordinance Advisory Board will be holding its regular meeting virtually at 3:30 p.m. And next week, on the 13th at 5 p.m., Central Iowa Regional Council will be holding its regular meeting virtually as well. And last but not least, on a personal note, I would like to thank my wife. 8 years ago today, you said I do, and I am eternally grateful for that. You didn't sign up for all this, but you do a great job of putting up with it. Thank you for everything you do. And most importantly, thank you for picking me. And that's it.
All right, well, congratulations. All right, you just are 1/4 of my wife and I, so you've got a long way to go. Commissioner Hines.
Well, first off, congratulations, Mr. Munger. 8 years is a milestone. My report will be real short. CRTPO, next one is on the 20th of October. And I will not be in attendance for that. I think Commissioner Boone is willing to fill in for me because it is my 25th year anniversary. Wow. So the town, you've only got me for 4 years. My poor wife has me for 25 and counting. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. From the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber will be presenting a candidate forum at Town Hall on Tuesday, October 5th. That's tomorrow from 7 to 9. The crowd size is limited to 50 people. Masks are required, but the forum will be streamed on Facebook. I'm sorry? Maybe, yeah. On October 21st at 11:45 a.m., the annual public safety luncheon will be held at Northstone Country Club. And for further details, please check out the lakenormanchamber.org website. I'm going to step back a little bit from my public safety report tonight, and you might have noticed in Huntersville that there's a few campaign signs on display around town. And a local Boy Scout troop, troop number 19, would like to clean up Huntersville and collect all the campaign signs. The plan is that the candidates would be charged $1 per sign that is picked up. The signs will be brought back to the back patio of Town Hall. The candidates can start picking up their signs at Saturday, November 6th at 11 a.m. The signs will remain on the patio until 5 p.m. on Sunday, and then they will be taken to the dump. The cost is $1 per sign. Check, cash, go to Troop 19. Larry Banks will be the go-to person for the troop. Candidates Bales, Boone, Munger, Walsh, Phillips, and Novak and sailors have all agreed to have their signs picked up. So this could be a pretty nice fundraiser for the Scouts. Mr. Mayor, that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bales.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's so good to see all of you here this evening. Thank you for joining us. I have a brief report this evening. The EDC has a manufacturing mingle that has been canceled. It was scheduled for this Thursday, so you can remove that from your calendars. But they will hold that mingle again in the spring. And this week I will be meeting with our area high schools so that we will continue our planning session for the speed networking event that we're looking to do in November. And last but not least, I now have a scheduled MEAC committee meeting on October the 20th, and that will be via Zoom. So that is all of my report this evening.
Okay.
Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
So that's the first one in how long?
That's the first one in 2 years, almost 2 years.
Okay. All right. Any questions of staff at this time? Commissioner Boone?
Yes, Bobby, could you throw that picture up there? I'd like to make a comment about Park and Rec and Michael J. Cox. This is a picture of North Mecklenburg Park. And if you know where Primal Brewery is, that's probably where those blue clouds are. That's 115 behind there. And then there's a 55 and older community right on the other side of the street. And those people, for the last couple of years, have been using North Mecklenburg Park to walk around and get exercise during COVID. And earlier in the spring, Commissioner Powell and I, along with people from Park and Rec, was watching people absolutely try to get down this hill and try to get back up the hill. And lo and behold, Michael J. Cox, your folks came and answered the task, and we've got a nice path for those people that can use that park and those facilities. Thank you very much.
And you're one of them, right?
I am one of those.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Warren, I think I saw you here. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, commissioners, staff, and fellow citizens. Thank you guys for having me again to come out. I was here a few number of months ago. Here tonight just to give you an update, another presentation, and then hopefully be able to answer any questions you may have about potential funding of the Raptor Center. I'm good to go. So we'll leave this with you too, but we feel that this is an investment, not an expenditure, because we're looking at growing what we're doing there at the current Raptor Center. Show of hands, how many of you have been out to the Raptor Center? You guys could probably be up here giving this presentation and not me, you'd do a better job. So the mission of the Raptor Center is not just to take care of birds. I mean, that's a very small component. Our main focus is connecting the community with nature and connecting humans to humans. And we do that with the hook of the bird. And if you'll see up here, we like to inspire imagination for art, for science. I mean, if you look at all the great things that have happened that we as humans have done, flying, well, guess who did that first? Birds. A lot of the other things that happen with art, and so a lot of the things that we want to be able to do, we think that started with birds, and we just want to use them as that hook. Of course, we do take care of birds. So just by the numbers, we have about 23 staff that goes up into the summertime. We see over 40,000 visitors a year. COVID, of course, has put a little bit of a damper on that the last year. And we average about 900 patients a year. Some years it's over 1,000. We're the largest raptor hospital in the United States by birds treated. A lot of people don't know that. Full-time medical staff, research, all of that happens out at the center. So what has happened since then? Well, we've been able to get our visitation up because we feel that we're a safe place to go. You come out to the Raptor Center, you're outside, it's a safe kind of place to be. Our visitor budget's almost $300,000. Our total budget's right at about $1.2 million. Now, with our new facility at Quest that we've done in partnership with Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation, we think we're going to be able to take our visitation at some point to 80,000 once COVID dies down a little bit, and our visitation income will go over 500,000. Economic impact, and these are visitors from not just the local area. We get visitors. We had some folks come the other day from Houston, Texas. So we see folks from all over the United States. And one of the things that we've had to do because of COVID is take things virtually. So we see folks that literally interact with us. If you were on YouTube earlier today, and if you weren't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a new episode of Avian Adventures. It's our television program we put out every Monday. Last year was 13 episodes. We just started season 2. But here's kind of the impact because we are in Lake Norman. We're in part of the town. We're very proud of that. We get a number of folks that come. We just did a homeschool day last week. A lot of folks from this part of the community came down for homeschool day. They just came for International Vulture Awareness Day. All the programs that we're able to do, as well as coming into the school and coming into communities, organizations, and groups. We're also very, very proud to be part of the Lake Norman and Huntersville Chambers. So Quest, it's a game changer. It truly is transformative. It's what we're able to do. It's been a 15-year program to get going. We opened to the public in July. We're now open 7 days a week. Happy to say that visitors are coming through and that we're going to be able to do a lot more programs and activities and events there moving forward. So we'll get a quick video. And this was filmed in 2020. So a lot has changed, but it gives you kind of an idea of an overview of what we're doing out there.
Mr. Warren, why don't you narrate what we're seeing?
So you're going out on the trail, the back side of the building. Quest is the main building that's open. So you're now walking out on the trail, which will be the Raptor campus. You'll notice this large circle over to the right. That's the first level of habitat. That'll house 20 different enclosures. There'll be 2 other habitats in the back with 10 more. We'll have our resident bird wellness and urgent care center that'll take care of the 100 birds that'll reside there. We'll have the Duke Energy Amphitheater that will house or can be able to host folks up to 200. And don't just think bird programs, but think spoken word, performing arts, visual arts, music, all of those. And then a lot of other kind of program areas where we can bring folks from the community out, outdoor classroom. We're going to do the program called The Roost, and it'll be a tented area where folks can come out and enjoy. 20 plus acres. And as we like to say, we literally are 20 minutes from Uptown. And I think some of you may have been invited, I hope, to the ribbon cutting next week. If I think maybe hopefully it went to the mayor, I believe it was supposed to be reached out to. So inside we have 13,000 square feet of both environmental education space, multi-purpose room, conference room, classrooms, all of that. So it's one of the true good venues and destinations in the area. It's one of the amenities that we have there. And we are renting it out. We've already had a number of groups start renting that facility, so we're looking at it as a venue. Actually, Visit Lake Norman was out a couple weeks ago for a meeting to really be able to see everything that's going to be happening in that area. And that's my contact. So I'll open it up to questions at this time.
I have a question. Are there any Raptors in the Quest area? And also, does it cost anything to go to Quest?
It's a great question. So the main Quest building is free to the community. The only charge would be if you're entering the Raptor Trail, which is out the back. We are going to put Raptors out there for the short term until we've opened up completely to visitors. I can't tell you exactly which bird's going because it's going to be an unveiling, but we hope later this fall. There are some enclosures already being put in out there, so we will have birds out there. That will be free for the time being. Of course, if you came to the current campus, there is a charge. That's one of our ways that we generate income.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Are all of the birds rescued or are any of them purchased?
Oh, that's a great question. So a lot of our birds are rescues, but a lot of them come from other facilities. And I wouldn't use the word purchase. A lot of times it's, and I say trade, it's a very regulated trade with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, North Carolina Wildlife Commission. So we get birds from other facilities like us in the United States. We send birds to other facilities. We got a lot of barred owls in this part of the country, a lot of barred owls in Mecklenburg County. Believe it or not, there are no barred owls in the Pacific Northwest. So we've actually had some of our birds that couldn't make it or couldn't be released. We've transferred them out there. So it's a network of folks. But we've got birds now from every continent except for Antarctica.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hines?
I got a question based off of personal experience. On Lake Norman, there's a lot of fishermen. There's a lot of waterfowl and birds out there. Who do I contact the Raptor Center? One time I saw a loon that had a big hook in his mouth and his beak. I know it prevents them from eating and those kind of things. Is the Raptor Center someone I would call first to try to rescue a bird like that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I'm going to educate you. A loon's not a raptor, but it's a good bird.
It's a bird. It's a bird.
It's a bird. You'd be surprised the number of hummingbirds and cardinals and other assorted birds we get. We just can care for raptors, so you think eagles, owls, hawks, falcons. That's what we're permitted for. Now, if a bird comes into us, we're not going to turn it away. Our vet would be a good Samaritan. We would get that bird, take care of it, and then it would get transferred to Carolina waterfowl. There are folks that take care of all varieties. We're specifically raptors. But we get all the ospreys that come in from that area. We get the bald eagles. So, but if you saw that loon again, get him to us, we'd get him treated.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Bales?
Thank you. Mr. Warren, thank you so very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And presenting tonight. We greatly appreciate it. I don't think that many of us, I will speak for myself, I don't get out there as much as I would like.
Well, shame on us for not getting you out there.
Well, it's a beautiful facility, and it's one that I was surprised to hear that 30% of your visitors actually are Huntersville residents.
Quite a few. We're just right down the road, and you know that Huntersville literally is right outside our back door. We're very proud of that. We consider ourselves an asset of the northern part of the county, and we want to do more of that. We now have a board member who's from the Mooresville Convention and Visitor Bureau, so we want to have a closer tie to this part of the community, absolutely, and do more and more of that all the time.
Well, I, for one, know that the work that you all do in protecting the raptors in the area is a special thing, and for our community in particular, it's nice to know that there is someone you can call when you need help in this regard. But I also recognize that 40,000 visitors are coming to your door, and that's not just Huntersville.
That's
So
correct.
they're coming from all over. Where do you see your visitors coming from?
Well, truly all over the state of North Carolina. A lot of school groups. Actually, we see more school groups outside Charlotte and Mecklenburg, Wake County, Buncombe County, a lot of different, and particularly now during COVID, we're doing a lot of virtual, so we're getting school visits virtually from all over the Southeast. But again, we truly are one of those venues where people come to the community and they want to bring their family members. We had some folks again from Texas that brought their family. We see us not as that place where they're going to come and leave, but if we can create that need to have a much bigger experience, particularly when they ask us where you go eat, well, there's lots of restaurants in Huntersville. So we're like, well, great, just head right up Beatties Ford Road, you can't go wrong. So there's a lot of places that we want to send. That's really what we want to do more with the Chamber and Visit Lake Norman, is how do we become that ancillary piece that the town can use or Lake Norman Chamber could use to actually support what they're doing. Come to the Raptor Center, but then do something else in the community.
Well, from where I sit, it's the first time that I have seen the Raptor Center ask for help from this community. And so I guess one of my questions is the why. Does it all have to do with COVID and the impacts that you've been having? Or would this be a regular occurrence in regards to the ask?
That's a great question. Well, I'll come as long as you have me. So I wouldn't be a good nonprofit exec if I didn't come up here asking for money every year. My board would fire me. I think, one, COVID had an impact, but with Quest, we see the growth potential. And to be honest with you, I don't have the staff team. We don't have some of the infrastructure. We don't have the program materials. When COVID hit, we had to revamp and get cameras and monitors and do all of this. And now we see more and more people come into Quest. It's just our ability to be able to expand with the limited resources we currently have. The more resources we have, the more impact we can make in the community.
Mr. Mayor, I for one, and I don't know where the rest of the board is, but I would be willing to utilize the $20,000 that we had designated for LATA to shift over to Quest. That would be my recommendation to the board.
And I'll graciously accept that.
Well, I recognize that the tourism dollars we can use for that, and it makes sense to shift it over and continue driving tourism, but just driving tourism to Quest.
Is that a motion?
No, there's no motion here. We're not even in.
Okay.
Well, any other questions or comments?
Quick question over here.
Yeah. Commissioner Moore?
Sure. So a couple of the slides I was looking through, your budget was 1.2 million?
Pre-COVID, that's
Pre-COVID.
correct.
Okay, and you were generating essentially $500,000 in revenue from visitors?
Visitors, programs, we charge for programs. So if a school comes out or we go do a school program, we get usually pre-COVID about $150,000 in program fees. Gift shop sales, people come out and they buy T-shirts and all that. And then about, say, 55 to 60% of our budget is donated. We get grants from the state of North Carolina. We get grants from hopefully town of Huntersville, other institutions. The majority of our funding is individuals. And we have some very, very generous individuals in the community that support us.
Okay. Does Mecklenburg County donate anything to you?
We get zero operating support from the county. Now, we are very, very proud to be in LATA and to receive access to that beautiful facility, but funding for basic operating, we do not.
Okay. Thanks for filling in the holes.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you. We'll be
Thank
back.
you. And hope to see you at the ribbon cutting next week.
Yeah, I'll actually be there Saturday as well. We have out-of-town guests,
Ah.
so we'll be there Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Thank you. All right, we have a few people signed up to speak tonight. We'll have Miss Betty Caldwell. You want me to call somebody else up, or you gonna be here? Good evening.
Good evening.
Please
My
state your
name is
name,
Betty.
address. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Betty Caldwell. I live at 14521 New Haven Drive in Huntersville, North Carolina. And the group behind me is the Pottstown Preservation Committee for Change. And we are requesting a response to Pottstown Preservation Committee for Change report that was submitted September 16th. And we're just going through some of the recommendations, and my other friend is going to go through the conclusions. Recommendations: 1, urgent, include Pottstown history on Huntersville's website. Help residents regain access and utilization of the Dellwood Center, a Rosenwald school. From what we understand, there was a program that was at the old police station that had a early childhood program that was moved over to the Dellwood Center. And it's been quite upsetting for some residents to see white people going into a school, into a building that they are not privy to rent. The recommendations: invite a committee liaison to be present at a fact-finding meeting where residents' input can be heard and shared when important, relevant issues are discussed and deals made that affect our community, not at board meetings where issues are already resolved and are basically information only. Appoint a board member to communicate with the Pottstown Preservation Committee for Change to help us stay abreast of and be informed of policies that affect the town and Pottstown specifically. Initiate and invite Huntersville citizens to a conversation about race issues. One issue in Pottstown is that vehicles do not adhere to the four-way stop sign at the corner of Holbrook Road and Central Avenue. Heavy traffic traveling at a high rate of speed flows on the street and has a potential to be a hazard. We have no street infrastructure nor sidewalks. Initiate a conversation between town department heads, developers, and residents to look for and strive to find ways to repair the decades of damage, harm done by disinvestment within our community. Use transparency when town government conducts business deals that will impact positively or negatively citizens within the Black communities. Align town policies that are applied to Pottstown with those that are used in other sections. Show how equity is used when town policies do not line up from one section or development to another. Using town resources and manpower, create partnerships to help citizens make meaningful improvements and investments to parcels within the community. And walk along with residents to create a trail of Pottstown history. And I have some other ones who will come forward now. They have signed up.
Is Miss Brown speaking? Okay. You want your separate time, or you want to give it to Ms. Caldwell? Okay. Please state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Stephanie Brown, 407 Gibson Park Drive, Huntersville 28078. We just want to conclude out that Pottstown is beaten and almost broken, a site where many battles have taken place. It's a neglected battlefield, a pond between developers, the demolition landfill, the town, and citizens. An intervention is warranted in order to dismantle the systematic racism and inequalities woven in the town's fabric in order to repair the harm done to the community. Officials may be unclear as to the stance residents have in regards to community, town issues, and public policies. Facts and information kept from public knowledge and view cannot be known to them in order for them to have a knowledge of or an opinion on things that affect the community. All citizens are not being treated fairly. Officials interact or play favorites to those who are friends or who have voted for them. Communities need to be made aware of town benchmarks. Working class communities do not have an HOA that could obtain this information. Once in their hands, it will be helpful and could provide an opportunity for the reviewing of them. That way, residents will be aware of how they're being judged and compared to other communities. For example, a historic rural working class community versus a non-neo-urban development. The Pottstown of 1909 having withstood the test of time as a beacon of light, drawing other men from families to their place, men with families to this place is no more. This is why its borders spilled over from original section and extended to them. With the town's assistance and input from residents, a new vision can be cast if every resident learns to coexist with those already living here. Original Pottstown residents sense feelings of indifference towards them, of being invisible and abandoned because of their history as descendants of the enslaved. Where do we go from here? Hopefully to a verbal exchange to bring government and people closer together. If a date is ever set, we are willing to meet with you.
Thank you. Mr. Caldwell, you signed up.
I did.
Since you're already up,
I'm up and
why
on
don't
the
you give
move.
us your 3 minutes?
First of all, it's good to see all of you up here. Just want to say we're inviting you all the council, all the folks that are running the candidates out to the Waymer Center on the 3rd of October. That's Sunday from 3 p.m. The 10th. Excuse me. Sunday, October the 10th, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And just to be able to get out to meet and greet you, see what your forum would be, as well as we share some of the things that you heard on the resolution and have a few questions for you. So hopefully if you're running for a position, you'll come out and see us, all right? See how
Can you
simple-
come out if you're not running?
We don't want to see if you ain't bringing nothing to the table. You know how that goes. You know how that goes. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
All right?
Thank you. All right, next speaker is Jackie Carty. There seems to be two of you. Oh, you're coming after her?
It's
Okay, are
pretty
you
much
Miss
the s-
Thorne? Okay,
It's pretty much the same thing.
okay. Well, Ms. Carty, if you could first introduce yourself and give us your address. You have 3 minutes.
Jackie Carty at 12207 Comanche Road, Huntersville.
Thank you.
We just have a big complaint about noise,
Come closer to the microphone. Speak
about the noise in our neighborhood. And it's nothing but Mexican music. Every weekend, amps, karaoke. 3 and 4 streets over from where we live, we call the cops. God, I don't know how many times. And it can be anywhere from 2 to 5 hours later. It goes in through the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're trying to sleep, and I don't want to hear the music. And I mean, you have to turn your TV up, your everything. I mean, we got fans running in my house, and I still hear the music. And sometimes my grandchild stays with me on the weekends, and I ain't wanting her waking up for that. But I just wish the cops could get out there quicker and tell them to, I know Huntersville has a noise ordinance, and we just want it peaceful.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Thorne?
I'm Wanda Thorne, and I live at 12114 Gibraltar Drive in Huntersville. Years ago, it used to be called Wildwood Green Neighborhood. I don't know who got it changed or if it was
Could you
officially.
speak a little closer to the microphone? I apologize.
It used to be called Wildwood Green Neighborhood, and I don't know how it got changed to Huntington Forest or Huntington Green, but anyway, every weekend, thank God it wasn't this past weekend, we deal with neighborhood Mexican parties because it is a low-income neighborhood. It's mobile homes, and you will find that there's more Mexicans living in there now than the people that own. And so therefore, they act like they don't know the rules or the codes or whatever. So we call, or I call, and she'll call, and then there's others that will call. But then we've had others that say, what's the sense in calling? Because nothing gets done. But I've even talked to the police in Huntersville, And they say, well, they're just trying to enforce the code enforcements, but they really throw it off on y'all. But it's like you call, and I know there's bigger problems that's going on that they can't get out there right then when we call. But we've had them say, well, you go visit the neighbor and talk to them yourself. Well, I don't think that's a good idea for me to go visit somebody when I'm upset and start with, because I can hear it in my house. I got my TV going, my OCD's going off, my anxiety's going off. And so it's like they want to put it back on the residents, but they will tell them sometimes, well, you have till 10 o'clock. Well, then, no, you don't have till 10 o'clock. The noise ordinance says anytime, any day, you know, it can't be over so much, and you can't, you know, people complain or you're having complaints, they have to go out there and deal with it. And it just seems like that our neighborhood, not just the noise ordinance, but we have chickens that's running around everywhere. Would you see chickens running around in Winfield all over the place? Would you see chickens running around all over Cedarfield? No. Why can't the code enforcement come out there and do something about all these chickens running around our neighborhood? For one, I don't want them in my yard. So I think there's a lot that goes on in that neighborhood that we, as members that live there, because I can't afford to live in Cedarfield. I can't afford to live in, you know, some of these high-dollar neighborhoods. Why can't our neighborhood be treated just like any other neighborhood? That's my complaint.
Okay, well, thank you. I think the chief's over there if you want to talk to him on your way out, if you want.
And trust me, there are a lot of drug dealings going on too. And we have a lot of kids, and nothing gets done. It's bad.
Sore, and people coming through Hambright and McCoy will probably say, why don't they tear down that neighborhood? Well, no, I live there. I don't want it tore down. I want you to do something about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. All right, any agenda changes? Is there a motion for the agenda?
Motion to accept the agenda as is?
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, then motion passes. We'll go to our public hearings, 7A, which will open up for petition R21-10. My understanding is the applicant has asked for continuance to November 1st.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for petition TA 21-10 until November 1st, 2021 at 6 p.m. to be held here at the Recreation Center.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Commissioner Boone?
I think it's petition R21-10, not.
You are correct. Sorry. My bad. R
You'll second that,
21-10.
right? All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Continue, great. All right, we'll open up 7B, which is to conduct a public hearing on petition TA 21-13, a request by Trinity Capital Advisors to amend the zoning ordinance, allowing the Board of Commissioners to approve modification of a swim buffer in the Mountain Island Lake Overlay Zone through a conditional rezoning process in the Corporate Business Zoning District. Mr. Semino.
Thank
good
you,
evening.
Mayor. Enter the staff report into the record. This is TA 2113 Trinity Capital Advisors, and this is a text amendment to the Mountain Island Lake Buffer regulations. So the map that you see is Huntersville's jurisdiction, and you see the creeks and streams. We have a number of different regulations that apply to protect the surface water quality. And along those streams, and particularly where the streams first start, those are the smaller size streams that will drain less than 50 acres. Two of the rules that we have to protect water quality is swim buffers and water quality buffers. And there was a text amendment 2109 that allowed an impact to these minor streams, these draining less than 50 acres, intermittent and perennial streams through a conditional district rezoning. And that was text amendment 2109 that was approved in last month. Now, a third regulation that we have, and this, by the way, is red areas where Trinity Capital Partners are, and it just so happens that they're in that dark blue line I just added, or blue lines that I've just added. These are pretty much the western half of Huntersville. This is watershed protection area. It's a state mandate, and these are what we call, this is the Mountain Island Lake Buffer Text Amendment. And the closer you get to Mountain Island Lake, the more restrictive the rules are. The furthest you are, the least restrictive. And so this is a state mandated requirement to protect that water because local governments get our water from that, so we have to protect the surface water. Now that has been something that since 2003, Town of Huntersville and Mecklenburg County has worked on to improve water quality, and while we have grown tremendously since 2003, our surface water quality is actually improving because of the things that we've done. So I do want to get that on the record that water quality is very important, and that this text amendment is involving a part of a state watershed protection area. So the request is to impact the PA2, which is Protected Area 2. That is the furthest away from Mountain Island Lake. And I will read this into the record, and that is that the property in the Mountain Island Lake Overlay Protected Area 2 is also part, which is also part of a conditional district conditional zoning in the corporate business district, may request the Board of Commissioners to approve modification to a perennial or intermittent stream buffer draining under 50 acres without a variance, subject to implementing one of the 9 mitigation techniques in 8.2511B. This provision is applicable only to those streams not indicated on the most recent version of the USGS 1 to 24,000 7.5 minute quadrangle topographic maps, and therefore do not meet the criteria for state water supply watershed buffer areas. So what this text amendment is doing is only affecting that PA2 area. It is giving an option for them to go through conditional district rezoning, somebody that's in that zoning district. This text amendment, since it is in a watershed protection that the state mandates, the town's attorney provided information to the state and said, this is the text amendment we're considering, and they've tentatively given okay. Yes, this does not violate our rules for protection. It's acceptable to us. If this text amendment is ultimately adopted, then it will be sent to the state for official approval. So I just want to get that in the record as well. In your agenda packet, the staff report had a number of 2040 community plan recommendations, and it's to provide LU8 is to provide some flexibility to employment centers, which this happens to be. EV11 is support a balanced economy through job growth in target industry sectors, and also EOS1, which is support the preservation, enhancement of natural environment. I will mention that if the town board approves a conditional district rezoning, and then the applicant would have to mitigate. If they impact 1,000 square feet, then they would have to mitigate that impact through one of 9 options that are approved by Mecklenburg County. So we feel like all of these 2040 plan recommendations are supportive of the text amendment. This happens to be a site that's in question, and you'll see highlighted in yellow is the area that, again, it drains less than 50 acres. It will be impacted. If this text amendment is approved, they will have to mitigate that, everything that's in yellow, through one of those 9 options. And this text amendment was run through Mecklenburg County Water Quality, Rusty Rozelle, who also supports the text amendment. It's going to have a very minor impact, and any impact that would happen has to be mitigated. So at that point, I'm happy to answer any questions from the town board.
Commissioner Bales?
Thank you. Mr. Semino, I see here on your slide it says the state is tentatively okay with this?
Correct.
Correct. And Mecklenburg County? are they as well?
Yes, so Rusty Roselle, any text amendments we do that impact water quality, we run through Mecklenburg County Water Quality. And Rusty Roselle, again, has indicated they're okay with the text amendment as it's been proposed.
And there will not be any damage to our drinking water because of this?
That is correct. And it's not just the drinking water, but the surface water that leads to where we get our drinking water as well. Again, if this is approved, this just gives somebody the option to ask for a conditional district rezoning, and they will have to mitigate if you approve that conditional district rezoning.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hines?
Can you go back to the previous slide? Just want to make sure everybody completely understands. This is one building, one site. Without this text amendment, they have to readjust their building so they do not impact that swim buffer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
This text amendment allows them, this is a use by right plan, to come before this board or the future board, ask for a conditional rezoning so they can mitigate.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. We can close that public hearing. Our next public hearing will open is 7C, conduct a public hearing on petition TA 21-12, a request by the Huntersville Engineering Department to amend Article 14 of the Huntersville zoning ordinance regarding traffic impact analysis. Good evening.
Good evening. This is one of your favorite topics, I know. So I'll try to be as brief as I can. Enter the staff report into the record. So just a recap of some topics we've touched on before. So what can TIAs help us find? They can help us find a way to quantify the impacts of traffic for new development and also compare different scenarios, different development scenarios. And what are we looking to find with traffic impact analysis? We're looking to see if there are improvements needed at impacted intersections, and if that is a yes, then what is needed? So two options to present. I'll say it's option one, the first three bullets, and option two is the last bullet on the page. So option one has three different parts. These three parts are independent of one another. You could say yes to all three or parts. They're independent from one another. And what are those parts? They are raise the threshold to complete a TIA to 150 peak hour trips or 1,500 daily trips. The second one is the town engineer may waive the town TIA requirement if the state is requiring a TIA for a development. And the third part is to raise the threshold for intersections to be studied to 40 trips on an approach or 70 for an intersection. And then option two is for the town not to require a TIA at all, kind of go back to the way it was prior to 2007, where they give the option to the state to require a TIA on their own. So this is a table that's been presented a few times before, but some additional lines have been added to it. So the table is a listing of TIAs that have been done for developments in town. So that's the full list. Everything above the blue line would be developments that would now fall below that 150 or 1,500 threshold. So if those developments came through, and assuming that got approved, then those developments wouldn't have to do a TIA. Okay? If the option is approved where if the state does a TIA or requires a TIA and the town doesn't, then the developments that are below the red line, those would just be ones that the state would require likely require a TIA, and then the results would come out there. And so then it just brings the developments that are between the lines. So that those would be the town would require a TIA for those, again, if the threshold's increased, but it's below the state's threshold. Next table shows a listing of developments that were approved and mitigation was required since back to 2009. And what this table shows is that when a development gets approved, say one got approved a month ago, those improvements don't instantly occur. They don't occur that month, probably don't occur that next year. It takes years for those road improvements to occur, several years, based on what the trend in this table shows. What the table shows is that developments from 2016 back, most of those improvements have been completed. But everything since then, maybe that phase hasn't occurred of that development, or maybe that development has occurred yet. So those improvements have not been constructed. So getting back to the summary of what's proposed, again, the three options or three parts of option one are raise that threshold. Currently it's 100 trips in an hour or 1,000 a day to 150 in a peak hour or 1,500 in a day. Second part is town engineer can waive the TIA for the town if the state's also is requiring one. And then the third part is raise that threshold. Currently that's 30 trips on an approach or 50 at an intersection to 40 and 70. A little bit more on that third point. Don't have a slide for it, but right now what we're seeing is when intersections are studied, say a TIA is required, if it's just over that 30 and 50 threshold, we're seeing that it's being studied, but no mitigation is being required. So the proposal is to raise that threshold so that fewer intersections are studied, but the ones that are studied are the ones that do require mitigation. So that would be a lessening of that standard. And then, of course, the other option is to just eliminate Article 14 and not have a TIA for the town at all. And that's what I have.
Any questions? Commissioner Hines has his hand up first.
Mr. Trott, good to see you.
Yes.
We've talked about this a lot over 4 years. First off, the state, they have 3,000 daily trips. Do they have a AM or peak hour requirement as well?
They do not. Their current threshold is 1,000, but the other criteria is up to district engineer discretion. So if it doesn't meet that standard, they can require a study.
Okay, so we have two options. The first option is 150 peak hours or 15 daily trips. So on a scoping plan, an applicant hits one, they don't have to hit both of them, they just have to hit one of the two, either for 1,500 or more per day, or 150, is it and or an or? I mean, it says or, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, it's an or. If you're above either, most cases you're above both, but if there are cases where you may be over one or the other. If you're over any of it, then you'd have to do a TIA.
So you have discretion if someone falls below one of these numbers to still require a TA. Is there also an ability where the engineer can waive if it's over 150, let's say it's over 150, but it's in our downtown area, and we know that we can't improve Gilead and Old Statesville? Do you have the ability within the TIA document to also waive that like you do to require TIA under 150 or 1,500 trips?
Not in the current ordinance, no.
Okay.
So if it's over the threshold, it's
automatic.
Automatic, yes. But if it's under the threshold, there is a provision in there that could still requue a TA if the town engineer
Has that happened in your memory?
Yeah, that hasn't happened that I'm aware of since the ordinance has been around since 2007. So pretty low hit rate, if you want to say, for that case.
Good. One more time on this third point. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure.
Do you mind?
Yeah, and a lot of these TIA items can be hard to explain and show, and that's one maybe a little more detail. Right now, the threshold is if your development is projected to have 30 trips on an intersection approach or 50 at an intersection total, so any approach combined total of 50, then you have to study it. Doesn't mean you have to mitigate it, but you have to study it. Over the years we've been noticing Those ones that are just at that or barely over that threshold, maybe they have 31 trips on approach or 34 on an approach, or say 55 at an intersection, they've been studied, but no mitigation has been indicated or needed at that intersection. So to eliminate those intersections that are being studied, but no mitigation is being determined, I'm going to raise that threshold so that the intersections that are studied are ones that need mitigation.
So raising from 30 to 40, that's based off of another chart very similar to what you showed us.
It's based on seeing the TIAs over and over and seeing that these intersections are being studied, but no mitigation has been required for those. They're kind of just right on the edge.
Is there some, and some of the pockets of our community seem to grow at the same time. If there's a TIA that came in last year and they studied one intersection that is called for in the scoping plan, does the same intersection have to be studied again, or is that kind of where that possibly could come in to help?
I'd say if one's been, development's been studied and then approved, then that doesn't eliminate it from study just a month or a week later, because there'd be additional development coming. So they have to account for what's already been approved and then add theirs on top of that.
Even if it's not there yet, even though it just got paper approved?
That's correct. And in the case of Huntersville, there's a lot of developments that are paper approved but not built yet. So we've had TIAs that have had 8 to 10 approved developments that have to be accounted for because they're approved and they're best to go be constructed.
So if you're the last one to the area, you're probably going to be more penalized than the first one that did a development. Is that possible?
Yes, that is possible.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bales?
Mr. Trott, would you be willing to give me an example of when you may waive a town TIA? If NCDOT is requiring a TIA, the town's portion? When would you?
If DOT has indicated they would require a TIA, then the option is there to waive one. What we've noticed I'll go back a couple of slides. For those developments that are below that red line, so these are the larger developments. These aren't your, build 50 homes or 100 home type developments. These are either large retail or industrial type developments or very large subdivisions. The state's going to require a TIA, and what we've found or what we've seen as the trend is the improvements that the town would require, it meets the town thresholds. Those are typically the same improvements that would be required by the state when the TIA is done. And so you're checking different measures to see if you require things, and what we've seen is that both typically require a lot of the same things. It's not always the same, but a lot of it is the same.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Munger?
On these traffic impact analysis, how much time does it typically take for planning staff? How much of your staff time does it take for one traffic impact?
That'll vary based on the size. So the smaller ones, they'll take hours to review. They may take 3 or 4 hours to review. The larger ones may take 8 to 10 hours to review a study because it's so much information. They can get rather large pretty quickly for the larger ones. The more intersections you have to study, the longer it takes to review.
And how much money would you estimate that developers spend on putting together the traffic impact analysis, their portion?
I could guess, but they hire their own consultants at their own, whatever their contract is with them as far as providing that service. But I would guess some of the smaller ones may be $5,000 to $10,000, and the larger ones could easily go above $50,000 for a study.
And in addition to that money that they spent, they then have to turn around if a traffic improvement is required to go through the effort of purchasing the land and actually putting forth the actual traffic mitigation.
That's correct. Yeah, then they have to go through, if mitigation is required and they offer that and move forward with that process, then yes, they have to spend time and lots of money to develop the plans and then go build it.
Next question's kind of in your opinion. If in the North Carolina General Assembly's infinite wisdom, they decided that, this is way too difficult on planning staff for the town and much a financial burden on the developers themselves, why don't we just allow an impact fee? Would that simplify things greatly?
It's the wrong person to ask. All right.
You don't have to answer, but.
Yeah, say, if there was an impact fee in lieu of this, it would be a lot simpler. I would think of a process, a lot less time consuming to figure out what that end dollar amount, if that's where you're trying to get to, would be. If there's just a straight rate, then yes, you wouldn't have to go through a complicated study to get to that end point.
And I would imagine developers would actually jump at the chance just to be able to write a check and be done with it. My opinion.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Trott, thank you. I'm sure we'll see you again.
All right, thank you.
We'll close that public hearing. Our final public hearing tonight is 7D, which will open up. Conduct a public hearing on petition TA 21-08, a request by the Town of Huntersville Planning Department to amend Article 8.25.4, stream buffers, buffer delineation, Articles 8.17.12A2 and 8.17.12B1, water quality, performance criteria for low-density projects, performance criteria for high-density projects, and Article 12.2.3, definitions, watershed definitions of Huntersville zoning ordinance. Ms. Speak, good evening.
Good evening. So Jack has already talked a little bit about the swim buffers, so I'm not going to go over that.
Come up a little closer to the mic, please.
So I'm not going to review that again. I just like to enter my staff report into the record for this item. So currently, the zoning ordinance requires for delineation of swim buffers by Mecklenburg County GIS, and this text amendment proposes to more greatly specify the method for delineation for site plans. The changes, as have been stated, are primarily for Article 8.25, which is the swim buffer section of the zoning ordinance, and then the additional changes are for other sections of the zoning ordinance that pretty much like restate the delineation requirements. So it's just for purposes of consistency. As mentioned, the zoning ordinance already requires that site-specific plans for the Board of Commissioners, all construction plans, including grading and clearing plans, erosion and sediment control plans, as well as site plans, include all buffers to be shown on the plans. And this proposed text amendment just requires that that method of delineation be by an on-site stream delineation prepared by a certified professional using U.S. Army Corps of Engineer and/or North Carolina Division of Water Quality methodology when being approved by the town. And the rationale is that this helps to more greatly specify the delineation methods that are required, prevent unintended disturbance of the swim buffers, and it is more greatly consistent with the buffer implementation guide and several surrounding communities. I'll just stop there. Ask if you have any questions.
Any questions? No? No questions? All right.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, excellent job. No questions. We'll close that public hearing.
Have a good night.
Now we'll go to other business, 8A, consider adopting resolution creating the 2022 Downtown Plan Steering Committee and confirming appointments to the committee. Is there a motion, or do you want to hear from Mr. Hill or
Mr.
Commissioner
Mayor,
Bales?
I would like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution and set the Downtown Plan Steering Committee.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Walsh? Any discussion? All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, that motion passes. So we're just adding some additional people to the group that we passed, I guess, a few weeks ago, right? Yeah. All right. Final item on our agenda is 8B, consider approving updates to the Greenway Trail and Bikeway 2014 master plan map. Ms. Houck, you've been here. You want to talk, or do we have a motion?
I've got a motion.
Commissioner Walsh?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the route updates as shown on the master plan map.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to,
Well, I would like to, Ms. Houck's waited for an hour, and just give us a quick update about what's actually going on, a high-level view.
All right. Let me see. So my numbers did not show up on this map, but this is the old map from 2014. So the Greenway Commission and town staff has just been working on updating the map. There's been roads added, the 2020 bike plan. So the Park Huntersville route, it's a little hard to see because it's so small, but it is not going to go under 77. It's going to follow the lines of the business park, and that was updated with the 2020 bike plan. And then the recycling center off Holbrooks Road, the official recommendation was made on August 17th by the Greenway Trail and Bikeway Commission at their meeting to follow Holbrooks Road versus running south of the recycling center. And then if you look, there's a stonefly protected area that runs along US 21, and that route was changed by Mecklenburg County. So we're gonna just follow 21 at a side path along 21. And then proposed greenway through North Mecklenburg Park. That one wasn't on our 2040 plan, so we added the proposed greenway just running through the park that we're working on the design right now. And then just marking the downtown greenway from 115 that will run under 77 all the way to the Rosedale Park, just marking it as under construction. I think that's it.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Because I have two. One, when will the trailhead be open in downtown? And two, is the North Meck mountain bike trail open?
So the trailhead should be open by the end of the month, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then the mountain bike trail, the bridges, I actually went there today. They were installed. So the bridges for the mountain bike trail, for the bikes to cross, where they did the stream restoration, is complete. There still needs to be work by the trailblazers to reroute some of the areas, clean up the trail because it hasn't been touched in a while. They've been working occasionally. Monday, I am meeting the representative from the trailblazers out there, and then so hopefully by the end of next week it will be open.
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
So am I.
All right. Any other? Okay. Well,
I was just going to make a comment. I think a lot of people know that greenways are a passion of mine, and I just want to thank the board for their continued support over the years. We've made a lot of progress in the last 2 or 3 years, moving the needle, including we're within eyesight of being able to move east to west in this town going under 77. So I just want to thank everybody and hope we continue that. And also thank Anthony and staff for working with the county to move projects, and we've just really seen it blossom over the last number of years. So great job.
all right. All those in favor of the motion? Seeing none, that motion passes. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? The motion passes 6-0. Any closing comments? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
You had 1 minute to spare.
Oh, man.
I'm sure it was.